Hello, Susannah here from The Good Property Company. Welcome to my YouTube channel and lovely to have you with me. So if you haven't come onto my channel before, we've got absolutely tons of videos for you on how to succeed as a property investor, how to flip, how to find builders, all of that stuff. So like, subscribe, do all the stuff. You don't want to miss out getting some of these videos. Let's talk about how do you buy your very first investment house or flat. Basically, how do you buy your very first investment property? Well, I'm going to break it down for you in really simple steps and also maybe look at some of the costly mistakes I see beginners making, so I don't want you to lose any money through those mistakes. So we've been working in property for about 15 years now. I run The Good Property Company. We bought, sold, sourced, flipped, retained, joint ventured, 217 deals in 4.5 years. So we were quite busy for a while. I've ended up with a sizable portfolio and I live part of the time in Bristol and part of the time here in Barcelona. I am fully financially free and kind of semi-retired, but I love creating education for you guys. I love creating great videos for you guys. And I've got an absolutely smashing website called thegoodpropertycompany.co.uk where you'll find lots of really superb, very high quality, straight away instant access videos, education pieces for you. Sometimes I do free webinars, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. And very occasionally I'll do retreats, obviously out here in Barcelona. So I personally own the decent property portfolio. I like to pay my properties off, so I've got quite a number of them that are completely without mortgages. So that goes against the grain of what people teach, but I'm old school. Nobody owns you if nobody owns your houses. And for me, that is financial freedom. And pardon the pun, but you know that thing about when the water goes out, you see who's wearing underpants? Well, I want to make sure that I am completely safe when there's any economic changes. And I like the feeling of paying off houses. And for me, I also want to travel. I live in Barcelona. I want to travel the world. I want a life that's uncomplicated, happy, full of ease. That's why I pay off my houses. So if that's important to you, it means that within the context of what is success, I've succeeded in property. And why is that important to you? Because if I, a mum of two, 5'2", reasonably ordinary person can do it, then absolutely you can too. So if I can do it, you 100% can do it. So how do you buy your very first investment property? It's 3 very simple steps. The first one is identify your strategy. So what are you going to do in your first go? Now, I know that there's all these beautiful shiny pennies, service accommodation, HMOs, commercial to resi, commercial, single let, what are you going to do? Well, if you've never been a landlord before, what I highly recommend is you start with a simple single let. Single let means you are renting to either one person or one family group, although you decide which segmentation of your customers you're going to rent to. Me, I tend to rent to professional workers, or you're maybe renting to a couple. What you're not renting to is 3 or more unrelated individuals who are basically flat sharers, roommates, flatmates, house share, friends, if you like, the TV show, because that can then be defined as an HMO, a house of multiple occupation. I have a lot of them, but it wasn't my first step. It wasn't my first investment property. And what I want you to do here is I want you to learn your trade. There are around, I think, about 250, 260 rules and regulations regarding landlording. It's a serious business. It's safety. You are housing people, and houses, can make people sick as well as make them feel very warm and secure. Fire, water, gas, all of that stuff. So you need to know and understand how to be a landlord and kind of get your head around being a landlord, what templates you use, what processes you use, what the law is, things like prescribed information. I'm not going to get into detail on that. Got other videos for that, so that you've got the basics before you then start going up to next level. So for me, I think your first strategy should be a single let, usually 6 months, and then you can move it to periodic. So you're a single person, a family, or a couple. It's no problem with all these regulations later on when you move up to HMO and all of that kind of stuff. You just tackle them, but let's get you trained up, if you like, as a single let landlord first on your very first property. The second one is, how are you going to find the money? You might be in a beautifully lucky position, and I hugely congratulate you if you are. You've saved up loads of money. Congrats, kudos to you. You may also be in a position where you're desperately keen to get into property, but you don't have a deposit. And you might be anywhere in between. So you may or may not be able to afford the deposit. So you've got a number of routes to get the money. You can earn the money. And in property, one of those routes, the fastest route to earning money in my book is deal packaging, where you find deals, you find investors, you match them together, you charge them 5% of the purchase price. So if you found a deal at 300 grand, you get 15 grand. Do you see, you don't need many deals before you can build up a deposit. The second thing you might want to do is you might joint venture with people. So you find the deal, they do the funding. I usually put it in their name, not your name, because you're going to sell it anyway. So why does it need to be in your name? And then you do all the work. They just sit back and go, oh, I'm loving this. I quite like having JV partners. And then you sell it and you split the profit 50-50. Again, that will take probably about 6 months to get the money in the bank, but you get much more money in the bank. Whereas if you're a deal packaging, usually 6 to 8 to 10, maybe 12 weeks before you get the money in the bank. So you do more of them, but you get the money faster. Or you can actually go to investors and say, I would like to borrow the money, please. So you've got two ways of doing this. You can borrow the whole amount of the property, and that is if you're following a BRRR strategy. Sounds like you're a seal barking, doesn't it? Buy, renovate, rent out, and refinance. Now, you have got to be sure that the deal that you have found is discounted enough that you can both refinance back out the investor's capital and pay them any of the interest. So sometimes what you'll be doing is you'll be saying, look, can I borrow like 250,000 because I found a property that's I'm going to buy for 200 grand and it's worth 300 grand, because those are the kind of deals we did all the time. So then you get back out your money, you pay the investor back, but you still want to add a second little income stream just in case the refinance doesn't go through all that well. Or alternatively, and you can borrow the deposit and then match it, and there aren't many organizations that do this. It's probably more bridging, and even then you've got to work with your financial advisor. You can borrow the deposit as long as it's not secured in the property and get mortgage or bridging finance from a proper lender, but obviously you declare that you borrowed the deposit. And what they will then do is they'll send a certificate to your investor and they'll say, let me make sure that you don't have your money secured in this property because you can bog off, because we're the bank, we want the money secured in this property. There are funders that do that. There are not many of them, and they tend to like experienced people. So I'm kind of dangling that carrot in your first investment property to almost whisk it away. But I want you to be aware it exists, and if you search enough, you'll probably find them. So do you see? Even if you don't have money, you can definitely find the money through deal packaging, flipping, joint venturing, borrowing in order to earn the deposit or borrow the deposit, as long as you can refinance and pay the investor back out. So you've got multiple ways of being able to fund it. But the key to this is having a very good IFA, independent financial advisor, mortgage broker, in other words. And I tend to find that they're either amazing at buy-to-let mortgages or they're amazing at commercial and bridging, and they're probably not the same person. So have two, one for buy-to-let mortgages and one for commercial and bridging. The third step then, so you've decided your strategy, and I would strongly suggest in your very first go, you do a single let AST just to work your way out, figure out how it is for you to being a landlord. And then the second one is, how do you get your money in the early days? Figure out that strategy, and I've given you like 4 or 5 different solutions. And then how do you find the deal? The rule, always buy discounted. Discounted, I like to call it wholesale, because when I was starting out, I heard all these people talking about you can buy discounted houses, and I sat there in the audience going, nah, nah, I just don't believe you. But it's true. We did 217 discounted houses in Bristol, in a very high value city. So I now know it's true, but I didn't believe it at the beginning. So I like to call it wholesale. I want you to be buying wholesale. That way you lock the profit in when you buy, which makes you wealthy. I've done a lot of videos. You've got a great playlist on my channel on how to find discounted deals. I'm not going to cover the technical aspects of here just now, just the principle: you must buy discounted. So I'm going to give you very simple maths so that you're looking for, using a case study of my own very first investment property. And if you thought I was confident doing it, no, I was completely terrified. So if you're quite anxious or nervous or worrying that you're getting into this, so was I, but it is the right thing to do. So I wish you good luck. So it was a 1-bed flat. I mean, it was a tiny 1-bed flat. I bought it for £80,000. You can tell it was a little while ago. I already did my analysis. I knew it was worth £120,000, and it was a classic deal. So I bought it and I refinanced it. So It was bought for 80,000. It was an £8,000 renovation, and it was valued up at 120. So I refinanced and I pulled out 75% of 120,000, which is 80 grand. So the only money I left in was my 8 grand renovation cost plus all my fees. And of course the rent paid that out quite quickly. So that's a classic, simple case of if you buy something 25 to 35% discounted, you'll be able to refinance either all or most of your money back out. And how do you get deals like this? And again, like I say, I've done videos for you guys in the deal sourcing playlist, which are much more technical, but it's all about focusing on the vendor's situation. Why do they need to sell? Do they need to sell quickly? Do they need security? And in this situation, it was a housing association that needed to dispose itself of old stock, and they needed to sell quite quickly. So I spotted the deal, I agreed a price, and I bought it fast. So there you are, 3 overarching principles on how you get your first investment property. Decide your strategy. I probably would say single let for your first go, and then get into greater money making properties. Decide or plan or figure out how you're going to get your money. Do you earn it? Do you borrow it? Or do you have it already and you're going to borrow the mortgage or the bridging finance? And then finally, how do you find the discounted deal? And the rule is you've always got to buy discounted, wholesale, below market value, because that is where the profit is. I know it sounds simple, but if you keep those very simple, easy to understand and process strategic intentions in your mind, you will become very successful at property, and that's of course what you want to do. So subscribe to the channel. I'm going to pop a nice free download for you, which you can download in just a little tick, maybe some suggestions of some more videos, and also have a look at my website. I've created some really superb high quality material on there. It's called thegoodpropertycompany.co.uk, and you'll find some really great stuff that's really going to help you. Good luck to you. I hope you enjoyed that vid. There is a 101 lessons pack if you haven't downloaded it already, 102 pages, I don't stint. If you just click on the link over there, you can download it now.